Hi, we are a group from Girl Scout Troop 4178 and welcome to our videos, which are bringing awareness and sharing information regarding the LGBTQIA community, specifically through our three pillars: understanding, affirmation, and equity. Enjoy what we have to share, and hopefully you'll learn something along the way. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'll be introducing you to the LGBTQIA community. So this community is all over the world and filled with all sorts of different people, and there are a lot of important different groups and layers that are all unique. LGBTQIA stands for the different groups in the community. So L stands for lesbian, and that's the flag. G stands for gay, and that is the rainbow flag, which is typically associated with the LGBTQIA community as a whole. B is for bisexual, T for transgender, Q for queer or questioning, I for intersex, A for asexual or aromantic, and the plus is for all of the other groups. And even though there's a lot more than just three other ones, gender fluid, pansexual, and agender are some of those.
I'm Nora, and today I will be talking about many LGBTQIA definitions. LGBTQIA stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning, intersex, asexual or aromantic, and more. Coming out. Coming out or coming out of the closet is when a person reveals their sexuality or gender identity to another person or people. Most times, this is a very stressful, important, and monumental time for the person who is coming out. Homosexual, a person who is attracted to people of their own sex. Please note that this term is no longer commonly used and may offend some people. Instead, most people prefer that you refer to them as part of the LGBTQIA community or gay. A lesbian is a woman who is attracted to another woman. And gay is a man who is attracted to another man. Bisexual, a person who is attracted to two or more genders, typically male and female. Transgender is a person whose sense of personal identity and gender does not correspond with their gender assigned at birth. Pansexual, a person whose attraction is unrelated to gender. Asexual or aromantic is a person with no sexual or romantic attraction to any gender. Non-binary, someone who is outside of the gender binary. They are not male or female, also known as NBs. To learn more about the gender binary, please check out our other videos. Gender fluid, someone whose identity is not one solid gender. A straight ally is a person that does not identify as LGBTQIA+, but supports and respects the community. Gender dysphoria is the condition of feeling one's emotional and psychological identity as different than their assigned gender at birth. Transitioning are the changes that a transgender person goes through to become the gender they really are. Homophobia is the dislike of queer people. Please keep in mind that this is just a small portion of the LGBTQIA+ community and that many other parts exist.
Okay, so let's talk about gender. Gender is a word you've probably heard going around lately. It's become a very controversial topic in recent years. I don't understand why. Gender is defined as the behavioral, cultural, or psychological traits typically associated with one's sex. Let me just say this off the bat. Gender and sex are different. Sex is what your birth defines you as, but gender is how you feel inside. It's any number of things, and it doesn't have to be what your biology says. But it can be. Gender is a spectrum. Everyone falls somewhere. Someone assigned male at birth could fall here, or they could fall here. And how you feel is always changing, and that's okay. But what we're taught is the gender binary, male or female, box or box. And we can't forget how the gender binary is fueled by patriarchy. Patriarchy is the concept that men and masculinity are better, stronger, and more respectful than women, non-binary people, and femininity. But the patriarchy only supports cis, straight, and hypermasculine men, causing the whole system to be homophobic and transphobic. And guess what? Our entire society was built on patriarchy and the gender binary, causing toxic masculinity and bigotry to thrive in our society. But that's a discussion for another time. So, the gender binary is quite constricting and doesn't fit everyone. So some people have to step outside of the binary to feel right and comfortable in how they are. These people are called non-binary. I just have one more point I want to touch on. Gender and gender expression are completely different things. A female can be masculine, androgynous, or feminine. I say just do what makes you happy. If anyone tells you otherwise, that's their problem, not yours. Just remember that transitioning is a very stressful experience. Your comments aren't helpful, and all you do are diminish someone else. It's not your business, so don't make it your business. Your only job is to respect people's pronouns. If you were going to take away one thing from this presentation, I hope it's that you should respect people and their pronouns. More on the LGBTQIA+ community. The concepts of LGBTQ have been around since the dawn of time. Even though this community has existed for hundreds of years, colonists and Western societies have imposed oppressive constraints and ideas against the LGBTQIA community. So only recently have people created this worldwide community and being comfortable out in the world. Even now, people struggle to accept the ideas that the LGBTQ community promotes. It's a daily uphill battle for those who are part of it. So, we live in something called a heteronormative society. Our society was built on breaking other people down. So, we grow up learning that cis and straight is normal. This causes people to think it's okay to be homophobic and transphobic. This leads to internalized homophobia. When an LGBTQ child grows up in a homophobic household, taking in all of the homophobia that's spewed, it can cause for an LGBTQ child to feel strange and not normal. Of course, they would never be homophobic to anyone, but inside they feel that they're strange. The world has always been scared of things they don't understand. Being queer was considered a mental disease by who for so long? We were tagged as sick and we needed to be cured. And in some countries, gay marriage is still illegal. And in other countries, people can be put in prison or even killed just for being gay. And conversion therapy is legal in more than 28 states. Conversion therapy is a psychological practice trying to change someone's sexuality from LGBT to heterosexual. Even though science proves that this doesn't work, it's still legal. Conversion therapy is built upon the foundation that being queer is a mental disorder and not a sexuality. Science also proves that conversion therapy isn't just useless, but it's also harmful to a child going through it. I won't go into the details about the practices, but it's just awful what they do to kids there. And public bias against the LGBTQIA community is huge, so it's always good to be nice and respectful. Here is a map of all of the countries in 2016 where with acts on homosexuality. Acts of inequality. Some acts of inequality towards the community are extreme. These include arrest under unjust laws, unequal treatment, censorship, and discrimination in health, jobs, and housing. But there are also some basic acts of inequality. For example, bullying someone because of their presence in the community or anything of that sort. It's best to steer away from bias and always be conscious of what another person may be feeling. But there are some acts of inequality you might not even know about. You might not know how deeply it affects a victim, and we should always be conscious of how a person is feeling. We deal with homophobia every day in our community, and our fight for acceptance isn't over. It's just begun, and a way to help our fight is to avoid doing any of these things. Dead naming or misgendering. Dead naming is when you use the pronoun or name that belong to a transgender person before they transition. If you make a mistake, don't make it a big deal. Just correct yourself. And if they get misgendered, you can gently correct another person and not make it a huge deal. Say your friend Jackson uses he, him pronouns, but he used to be called Sarah. That's his dead name. Say when you meet Jackson, you refer to him as Sarah and use she, her pronouns. This makes Jackson feel like you don't accept him for who he is. If you meet Jackson and accidentally refer to him as Sarah, his dead name, just correct yourself. It makes sure that Jackson knows it was a mistake instead of an act of hate. I can tell you that Jackson really doesn't want to make his gender a big deal. So if someone else misgenders or dead names Jackson, just politely correct them. Outing someone. Outing someone is when you tell other people that someone other than yourself is LGBTQ. For example, your friend decides to tell you that they are LGBTQ. That is a privilege, honor, and form of trust. If you then go around telling other people, you're not only stripping away their chance at coming out on their own terms, but are also ruining the trust that your friend had in you. Coming out is monumental, and even telling one person can be a big deal. You never know what someone else is feeling, so it's best to just support them in any way you can and help figure out what they want to do. Assuming genders. When you meet someone for the first time, you always introduce yourself, right? I would introduce myself as, hi, I'm Avery and my pronouns are she, her. This helps normalize the use of pronouns in making trans people more comfortable and helps limiting mistakes. Even if you think you know what gender they are, you should always ask for clarification because, as I said before, gender expression and identity are different. So someone presenting as feminine, they might not identify as female. If you do assume someone's gender and get it wrong, you can just end up making that person feel uncomfortable. Assuming off of stereotypes. There are many stereotypes set up for the community, especially gays and lesbians. Generally, stereotypes say that gay men are supposed to be flamboyant, wear makeup, care about fashion, etc. Stereotypes against lesbians say that they are supposed to be masculine. These stereotypes are perpetuated by the ideas that girls or men are supposed to be a certain way. This induces toxic masculinity and misogyny. However, these are not always true. So when people rely on stereotypes, mistakes are made. People are grouped in incorrect restricting groups, tension grows, and people feel like they can't truly be themselves. Everyone is different, and stereotypes about a group are based on experiences with a specific person, which is then used to generalize and oversimplify, which is human nature. Overall, I think it's best to steer away from them. Homophobia. Homophobia is a terrible thing. I don't care how you were brought up, what your parents think, or what you think. Bullying anyone is wrong. In the next video, Grace will tell you about how bullying affects a person.
Thank you for watching these videos. If you are looking for more information, feel free to check out our website and pamphlet. You can find these linked in the description box below. Thank you again, Troop 4178.